All right, we are on now to our second list, and this is about the what some people call the second most important position on the football field and the second most popular, and that is the running back. For this list, it is just the same thing. The top 10 running backs that were rated by Madden, and for the Madden 21 game, here we go. At first, we have Christian McCaffrey at 99. Cough, cough. The most disrespectful rating I've ever seen. Derrick Henry at 93. Nick Chubb at 92 for third. For fourth, we have Ezekiel Elliott, same 92. For number 5, we have Saquon at 91.
The
For
most
number 6,
disrespectful rating. Saquon.
Yeah, Saquon as well. Dalvin Cook at 91. Aaron Jones at 90. Joe Mixon at 89. Professional woman beater as well on the side. Then we have Josh Jacobs at number 9 and Alvin Kamara at number 10, and those were both at 88 overall. Now, this list is awful. This is just very bad.
You think it's awful?
Okay, that's a
kind
bit
of
of a stretch.
agree with
Let me recorrect myself. Okay, besides Derrick Henry, it's not that bad. Besides Derrick Henry, it's not that bad, but the fact that you gave Derrick Henry, the first ever person to have 180 rushing yards in 3 straight playoff games at 93. 93. A guy who led the league in rushing and was top 3 in touchdowns. 93. A first guy to rush for 1,500 yards in not forever, but rush for 1,500 yards in a long ass time. 93. This is just so disrespectful. So, now that I'm done yelling about that, still at number 1, we have Christian McCaffrey. If you don't have 99, we have Christian McCaffrey. If you don't have Christian McCaffrey, you're wrong, you're stupid, just like Mahomes. This man literally had the second most receptions out of any player in the NFL. Second most receptions. As a running back. That's insane. He carried his team. Absolutely carried the team. So 99, perfectly good. Number 2, Derrick Henry, obviously. But this time I have a 97. I don't think he's a 98 because he doesn't have the catching ability. But just pure running ability, he's the best pure running back. If you just go off of running ability, he's number 1. But that lack of passing, the lack of receiving in a passing game is what knocks him down to a 97. Number 3, I have Nick Chubb at 94. I feel like he's extremely underrated. He's a good mix between being able to power back like Derrick Henry and being able to catch. Obviously, he's nowhere near the catching ability of most running backs like Aaron Jones, most of the top catching running backs like Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, or Christian McCaffrey, but he's still up there. He's still decent. It isn't like a weakness like Derrick Henry's is. At number 4, I have Saquon Barkley at 93. I feel like if you come into the league and you have 2,000 scrimmage yards your rookie year, and then you have nearly... Can you shut up, Gavin?
93.
93. Why, you think that's really low?
Yes. But
Wow,
continue.
Okay. I do see where you're coming from, that it's low, but you have to keep in mind the fact that he got injured last year. We don't know how that injury is going to be continued. He's still insane, but you got to keep that injury in your back pocket. Now, I still think that's where I can see where my list is wrong. Is I definitely I love Saquon Barkley. I said for the Browns he should have been number 1, clear cut. He's the next Barry Sanders. I am as big as a Saquon Barkley fan as you can get without being a Giants fan whatsoever. In fact, hating the Giants. So it's I just gotta bring him down a little bit because of the respect that Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry have to have. But definitely number 5, and some of you might see this as disrespectful. I actually have him the same overall as Ezekiel Elliott. I feel like Ezekiel Elliott is overrated. He's kind of just a decent at everything. He's like a jack of all trades. He's decent at everything, but he's lifted up to be a great running back by his offensive line. I'm being honest with you. I'm not saying that to a Cowboys fan's face. Like, this is obviously coming from a Cowboys hater, so I'm obviously biased. So if you're a Cowboys fan, you're going to be biased as well. So you can also shut up about him being the number 1 running back in the NFL because you're wrong.
What did you give Zeke?
92.
Okay.
Same overall. Same overall that he had. I just moved Barkley up 2 overalls, and that pushed him ahead of him. Then tied with him, I have Dalvin Cook at 92 because I feel like Dalvin Cook, once again, is underrated. He's an insane running back. He, carried this team in the first few games. He had, 600 rushing yards in the first 4 games or whatever it was. Crazy, crazy numbers. Really good. And then I feel like that's the cutoff, as in those running backs are all great, could be all-time running backs. Those are all amazing, amazing running backs. And then after that, all of these are just pretty good running backs. I have Aaron Jones at 90, same thing. Joe Mixon at 89, same thing. And then I just put Kamara instead of I put Kamara ahead of Jacobs because, Kamara has that dual threat. I mean, he did take a giant step back from last year or the year before, so that's what brings him down in the 90s. I still feel like he's an extremely talented running back. And then I got rid of Josh Jacobs because Josh Jacobs had a good year as a rookie, but I have him at 11th. I only put him at 11th because I feel like people would be disrespected or feel disrespected, but I don't feel like he's better than Chris Carson, the guy I put at 10, the Seahawks main running back, because he had more yards and the same amount of touchdowns. What?
I can see that.
With less carries. We had less carries, more yards, same amount of touchdowns. So I don't understand how you can put Josh Jacobs ahead of him. So I feel like that's my list. So I feel like it's pretty good. I feel like I can now. The more I look at that Barkley number, the more I hate myself for it. I'm gonna be honest with you. You know what? Switching it up mid video. Barkley's a 95 and jumping up to 3rd. But we're just moving Barkley up 1 again at a 95. Okay.
Oh, starting off my list, C-Mac, 99. No question about it. No one even trying to argue because you're wrong. Number 2 is Saquon Barkley with a 96.
2, I'm done. I'm done. You have Saquon Barkley better than Derrick Henry. You are insane.
Yeah.
Insane. Insane, Gavin.
How am I insane?
Oh my god.
Derrick Henry was a system running back last year. They had one of the
system running back? No, they didn't.
Yes.
Half their offensive linemen were injured. Half their offensive linemen were injured. Taylor Lewan had a shit year last year in comparison to every year. He didn't even make the Pro Bowl.
A lot of their offensive line. He's not going to be as good as he was last year. And Saquon's literally on the Giants and put up the numbers he did.
Bruh, I know that he put the numbers up he did out of the Giants, but you just can't disrespect the king like that.
Okay, Derrick Henry kind of came out of nowhere. He was with he was mediocre.
Mediocre, really? He rushed for over 1,000 yards. Shut up. Jesus.
Then the playoffs is when he got all his attention. Saquon, if he had the offensive line that Tennessee had, he would be putting up better numbers than Derrick.
Gavin,
not rushing, but rushing and receiving. Saquon is a more dual threat than Derrick Henry.
Oh my god, this is our first fight on air, Gavin.
I know. Good debate.
That's awful. That is awful. That is just so incredibly stupid. So over half
nothing to take away from Derrick Henry. He's at 95, 100%. He deserves better than the 95. I'm not taking anything away from Derrick Henry. I just think Saquon's better because he's in a shit environment with a terrible offensive line. So number 3, Derrick Henry, 95. I think Josh covered all the bases with Derrick Henry. The numbers he put up were incredible. I think he and the top 3 are definitely a few overalls above the rest of the pack. Number 4, I have Zeke. And I'm not too high on Zeke. I know a lot of I am a Cowboys fan, but I'm not too high on Zeke. I think the 92 overall, the Madden game was pretty accurate. I need to correct myself from the last ranking. I said that Zeke was injured and suspended. That is incorrect. He did play every single game last year. And he still put up good rushing yards. I don't know. I just feel like he has too many off the field issues that's kind of holding back the Cowboys. He's kind of like, for me, maybe I'm biased, but I just feel like he wasn't as good as his previous years, and he's not really as good as he's not really that good of a receiving back. He's just kind of like, I'd call him a budget Derrick Henry. In my opinion, he's just kind of he gets a lot of yards, but not as good as Derrick Henry. So that's why he's a 92. Number 5 is Aaron Jones, who I didn't even know who he was until last year, and he thought
5?
Yeah, I have Aaron Jones at 5 at 90.
Above Cook.
Yeah. A lot higher above Cook.
A lot?
Not a lot, but
I thought you said a lot.
Aaron Jones at number 5, because I thought he kind of took control of the Packers team last year. He was on my fantasy football team, and he kind of carried. And he's very dual threat, which I love. You'll see I rank a lot of the dual threat guys higher than just regular power backs. And so, yeah, I think 90 is very representative of Aaron Jones. Will he be as good as he was last year? I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. But for now, I think 90 is accurate. Number 6, I have Nick Chubb. And I would say he's budget Zeke Elliott. I think Derrick Henry's the king of all power backs. Then you have Zeke below him. Below him is Nick Chubb. So I think 89. It's a little lower than a lot lower actually than what Madden gave him at a 92. I just think he's still a little unproven in my opinion. I think there's still better backs out there. So I think while he's still very good, I think he doesn't really deserve a 90 yet, because a 90, in my opinion, is very above average. I would kind of put him in the same tier as Aaron Jones. Number 7, Dalvin Cook. And the only reason I gave him an 88 is just because he's holding out this year. I'm going to be honest with you. If we're taking the stats from last year, Dalvin Cook deserves to be probably a top 5, 100%. But we don't even know if he's going to play this year. So by the time he actually comes onto the field, I think he would be playing like he's an 88. That's the only reason I have him. I think he's in the same boat as Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon got rated really high last year. By the end of the year, they took away his X factor. And I believe Superstar. I don't know. I didn't play Madden at the very end of the year. 2K for life. But if he didn't hold out, he would be top 5. That's all I'm going to say. So he is actually tied with Chris Carson for an 88. Originally, I had Josh Jacobs, but looking over the stats and what you said, Chris Carson was literally just a better Josh Jacobs. I'm very high on Chris Carson. I like him a lot. So I think an 88 is good. I think he's better than some of the guys that Madden gave it in the top 10. So 88 for him. Number 9, I have Austin Eckler at an 87. Ew.
Oh.
But if you look at the stats and you look at Alvin Kamara's numbers and compare him with Austin Eckler, they are actually much worse. He is probably I'd say he's top 3 or 4 in receiving backs. He had his rushing yards were very average, only 3 touchdowns and 550 yards. But he almost had 1,000 receiving yards with 8 receiving touchdowns compared to Alvin Kamara's. Let me pull this up. Alvin Kamara's 533 receiving yards in only 2 less games. That is with Phillip Rivers and their kind of pass happy attack. He still was able to put up decent rushing yards and a lot of a team with a lot of strong wide receivers. So do I think he's very elite? No, but I do think he's better than Alvin Kamara, at least in a Madden standpoint, stats wise. So that's why I gave him an 87. And he's also tied with Joe Mixon for an 87, who rounds out our top 10. Joe Mixon was an 87 just because his stats were not great. He kind of took a while to get going. He had the first half of the season, he was very not good at all. He was on my fantasy football team. Terrible. And then towards the very end is when he started to play like a 90 plus. So he ended up with like over 1,000 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns. He's not a huge receiving threat, but nonetheless, if he plays like second half Joe Mixon, I think he could be a 90 plus. If he plays like first half Joe Mixon, I think he's like low 80s, which is why I gave him that middle ground of 87. So that is my top 10. I know Josh had a few disagreements, to say the least.
Yeah, I don't see Austin Eckler being able to. I just don't see him being that high, because I feel like that's the main difference between our points of view with this exercise, quote unquote. Is that you looked more at the more recency biased, like this past year he was like pretty decent, where Kamara, like, I know where he can be, so like he can be top 3, top 5 running back in the NFL. So I'm taking that into account as well, because he was that like 2 years ago or the year before that. So it's just like, I feel like that's our main difference, that you just looked at last year, where if you look at any,
last year. Well,
even though Austin Eckler
last year, and the big step, Alvin Kamara took a major step down last year. So if he continues at that descent, he doesn't deserve to be in the top 10.
That's fair, yeah. But if he takes that jump back up, he deserves to be in the top 5.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I feel like I see that part more than you do. You see more of, like, I feel like he'll have a bounce back year this year because he'll be paired with another. He'll have more time to get used to being fully number one, the full number one back. Instead of like last year, the years before, he was just kind of splitting roles with Mark Ingram, even though he was like doing better then, but he was more in a split role. So I feel like your list isn't that bad. It's better than Madden's, because Madden's is just not great.
Madden's is very silly.
I don't see how you.
The Madden ratings. Do the Madden ratings take into account that people actually watch football?
Yeah, it's insane. One thing I mainly noticed is that none of us had Le'Veon Bell in our top 10. Which, I mean, if you told me that like 2 years, like literally going into last, or the season before last, where he was just starting his holdout, I would have been like, Le'Veon Bell's top 2 running back in the NFL. I don't understand how he can be outside the top 10, but I mean, he is. He's just outside the top 10, which I think this is really trying to prove Steeler fans' point that he was just a system running back. Like he was just all behind that offensive line, which is what I feel like Zeke will do. Like if Zeke goes anywhere else with a shitty offensive line, then he'll be awful. Not awful, but he won't be good.
Awful, but he's
maybe 900 yards and 3 to 4 touchdowns.
Zeke's claim to fame is his rushing titles, and what do you get with a good offensive line is a lot of rushing yards. So
and not a lot of touchdowns.
If those numbers take a dip, then his overall legacy is going to take a dip, because he's not a good receiving back.
Not at all. So I feel like that concludes our running back list. Still, I feel like you disrespected Derrick Henry, but you're just wrong. Thanks.
I'm wrong.
You're wrong, just like usual. Gavin is wrong, and I'm always right because I'm right. I'm always right because I am a perfect sports analyst and never get anything wrong, like my favorite analyst, Skip Bayless. I hope you all know that entirety of those last two sentences were sarcastic. Sorry for dragging this on, but our next changing of the list will be edge defenders / pass rushers / defensive linemen. Just defensive linemen and edge defenders.